Hello, welcome everybody to this webinar. My name is Giulio Ferrari. I'm a technical support specialist at Biamp. And today I'm speaking from our offices here in Italy, where we will see a live demonstration of two products, the Devio SCX and the Modena Hub, working together. So let's have a quick look at the agenda for today. We will start seeing how a conference room, a collaboration space like the one that we are using today can be designed for the audio part. And we will introduce the first start of our webinar today, the Devio SCX, and see its main features and what it can do for us. Then we will connect the room equipment, speakers and mics to the Devio, and we will perform the initial configuration by using the Biamp launch, the new feature of newest Biamp products that allows us to perform a configuration in a total automatic way. We will see a live demonstration of this as well. Then we will see a bit more of the Devio configuration, a bit more in depth, and introduce the other product that we're featuring today in our webinar, the Modena Hub, and really concentrate on the wireless experience that Modena is offering us, the wireless presentation and the wireless video conference, and see the features that they can bring into the equation. And then finally, we'll connect the two units together, the Modena and the Devio, and see how they can work together, and test the whole thing in live video conference, in live UC call with my colleague Ian, to demonstrate really what the system can do and what can be achieved through these products, the Modena and the Devio SCX. The webinar will be more or less 45 minutes, so we'll have time for Q&A at the end. Please feel free to already send your questions in the webinar chat, and I'll be happy to answer them at the end after the presentation. So, as I was saying, we have two products that we're featuring in our webinar today, the Devio SCX and the Modena Hub. These are really two different products in Biamp catalog, and they have their own usage scenarios and use cases. But the great thing is that they really work together very well. So this is what we will see today. The Devio and the Modena combine together and see how we can combine the features of one and the other for the best possible results in a collaboration space like the one that we are in. And let me say that the units are just out of the box. There's no previous configuration. They are in their default state. And so we really see how we can go from zero configuration to a full experience using a wireless video conference with Modena and Devio together in just a few minutes. So we will see how easy and fast it is to set up and use these systems together. So let's start with a small step back and see how we designed the room that we are in now. This is one of the actual meeting rooms of our offices here in Italy, and so it's not a test environment, it's not a test lab, but an actual meeting room. How did we design the room? Well, Biamp offers several design tools and calculators, and we decided to use one of the most powerful, the conference room designer in its version 2. The conference room designer is something that you can find online for free at the Biamp website. Is the link, and it basically works as a wizard. You start from entering the project name, and from there you're guided through a series of steps to configure the room for the best audio in just a few minutes. And the purpose of the designer is to provide a bill of materials. So starting from just entering a few parameters into the wizard, you are given at the end a bill of material with everything you need for best audio performance in a specific room. And this is exactly what I did. I entered the measurement of this meeting room, the dimension, and you can also customize the design. For example, in our case, we have ceiling tiles, and I put the ceiling tiles in the design. I could really place them precisely. I could also cross out some tiles where I know that I can't be placing any type of equipment, maybe because there are lights or a heating or air conditioning system, or for any reason. I just put crosses where I know I can't be mounting anything. And I also placed a table, which is exactly the same shape and size of the table that we have in this room. And then I'm guided through a couple of steps where I can decide, I can indicate the acoustic of the room, and I can decide the coverage, for example, that I want in my room. And I can decide if I want to base my system on a Devio or a T0 unit. And then the room designer gives me a result. And you can see the designer placed 4 speakers and 2 mics in this screenshot. And from this map, I can see the performance, the distance of mics and speakers in regards to the table and the seats that I have in this room. And I can, again, do other customization to the design. I can move the speakers and mics around and play with the results. So it's a highly customizable tool that can give you a great result only with a few steps of the result. And as I said, the result at the end is really a bill of material. The designer is indicating what we can use for the setup of this room. In this case, we have 4 speakers, the Devio unit that I chose, and 2 parallel mics. And this is really a bundle of a large meeting room bundle that Biamp offers. The great thing about the conference room designer is that it's also creating customer-facing documentation. I can download a PDF with all the information that I just show you, with the screenshots and all the details, and I can provide my customer with the PDF that contains all the necessary information and the complete project of the audio for my room. So basically, it's a one-stop shop for a complete room design for the audio part. Okay, after seeing how we can design a room using one of the Biamp tools that is available online, it's time to introduce the Devio SCX. And what is it? SCX is the latest addition to the Devio product family. And basically, it's an automated DSP for meeting rooms and collaboration spaces in general. It comes in 2 models, the Devio SCX 400 and the 800. The main difference is the 4 or 8 AC channels, supporting up to 4 or 8 microphones. And then it features a USB port for audio connection with the room system or the room computer that you have in your collaboration space. And it features the Biamp launch, which is an automatic discovery and tuning process. And we will see the Biamp launch in a couple of minutes. So to really understand what's doing in configuring the Devio unit. Having a look at the Devio hardware, on the front we have a series of LED lights that indicates the status of the unit and the ports that are connected, and we can see on the right the Biamp launch button. But really it's on the back that we have the main connection. We have 5 Ethernet ports. Port 1 is for control and monitoring, and it's to be connected to the corporate network. And then port from number 2 to number 5 are really media ports for Biamp expansion devices. And this is these are the ports that we'll be using to connect the rest of the audio equipment that we have in our room. Then we have a USB connection, as we saw before. The connection will be used in our case to connect the modem. So it will be the link between the Devio unit and our Modena unit. So speaking of audio devices, we saw in the conference room designer that the system was suggesting 4 speakers, 2 mics in addition to the Devio unit. And I have some spares here with me. This is the Sono CX 6 inches ceiling mics that are specially designed for conference room and collaboration spaces with wide angle coverage, and they target speech intelligibility. So great for this type of environment for collaboration. And the system was also suggesting to use 2 parallel mics. I have the ceiling mic version. You can see the connection port here and the thin, sleek design of this beautiful mic. And this is 360 degrees with the full beam tracking technology microphone. That's also designed for spaces like this, like the one that we are using now. And I chose the ceiling mic. I could have chosen the pendant style mic or the tabletop with similar results. To connect the mics, we are using a network box, a Parley TCM XA box, where you can see the connection to ports to connect the microphones. At the same time, this works as an amplifier. It's providing 2 speaker channels for the Sono speakers, and we can then connect the speakers in couples with a daisy chain connection. So we can connect the 4 the Sono speakers that we need in our design all to this network box, mics and speakers all to this box. And this is one of the beautiful thing about this design. There's a single cable coming from the network box all the way to my Devio unit, as we will see in the design. So in our case, the room is already the audio equipment installed. You can see in the picture there are the 4 Sono CX6 speakers and the 2 parallel mics, exactly as the designer suggested to install. And so the room is ready. The equipment is installed, and we need now to connect the most important part, the most important element to the design, which is the Devio. As I mentioned, we have what is a brand new Devio unit, no configuration whatsoever, and I'm now going to connect it. So I'll start by connecting the network cable, port number 1. And this is the single cable that I was mentioning, coming from the network box. By connecting this cable, I'm really connecting all the speakers and the mics that are in this room, and I connected to port number 2. I will skip the USB connection for now because we will use it later for connection with the Modena, and I just plug the power to my Devio, which is now started. And so a quick recap of the connection that we just saw. We have our Devio. We're using Devio SCX 400 in our installation, and there's a single cable, single cat cable that is coming from the Devio to the TCM XA box. And to this box we have our 2 Parley microphones and 4 Sonos IC6 speakers connected with a daisy chain. Typically on the Devio, you also use the USB connection to connect a room system or a room computer. You can see from the design there's a USB connection here. In this case, we left it out for the moment, as we will be connecting the Modena in a moment. So the Devio is connected, and the rest of the equipment is already installed in the room. We are almost ready to start. And I say almost because we only need the initial configuration for our Devio. And this is where the Biamp launch comes into play. What is it? Well, it's a fully automated process that we can launch with just the press of a button. It's the button that we saw on the unit on the right part of the front. And well, basically, when you press the button, there's a whole process that starts, and as I said, it's completely automatic. It starts with discovering the devices that are connected in the network to the Devio unit. It starts measuring the acoustics of the room and comparing this measurement with target values. Then it starts tuning the system for optimal performances, setting all the necessary parameters in order to make the best of all the audio equipment in the room, and tunes the system for the optimal performance, as I was saying. The whole process takes a couple of minutes to complete. It really depends on how many speakers, how many channels you have in your configuration, and so the time that it takes can change slightly. There's an audio that guides you or advise on the status and the progress that it's happening in real time. So the user knows that the process is ongoing and when it's done and when it's ready. And this is what we will do now. We will start the Biamp launch procedure and let it go for a couple of minutes. So I'm going to press the launch button now and let's see what happens.
Welcome to Biamp launch. Press the launch button again to proceed.
Okay, as you heard just now, I am requested to press the button again twice. So it's just to avoid that the button was pressed accidentally, and so the procedure can only start if you confirm that you want to do so. And now the Biamp launch button is starting flashing red and green, so I know that the procedure is starting now. And in a moment, I will have to be silent, as the procedure will need to measure the acoustic of the room without me speaking. So now it's rebooting all the connected devices to make sure that the procedure starts from scratch. And in a moment, we will see, and you can follow what's happening.
Detecting the Biamp microphones and speakers in your room. We will now start the launch process. Please remain quiet. Applying speaker tuning and adjusting level. Measuring the next speaker's performance in your room. Applying speaker tuning and adjusting level. Launch will now apply the optimized speaker tunings. Verifying the next speaker tuning. Obtaining a room reverb measurement. Verifying the next speaker tuning. Obtaining a room reverb measurement. Measuring the room's speech intelligibility. Biamp launch is now complete, and the system is ready to use.
Okay, so as you heard, the whole process is now complete. I have confirmation from the voice. I can see the LED light is now steady green, so the process is complete successfully. And the system is really now ready to use. It's great how I just pressed the button and the Devio did everything for me, from discovering the connected devices, measuring the acoustics, and setting up the parameters for the best performance. And the system is indeed ready to use, so I could just connect a computer or room system and use it right away. But let me just show you a bit more what happened with the launch. And to do so, we will enter the web admin of the Devio. To enter the administration of the Devio, I need to connect to the unit IP address. And to do so, I can use the Biamp discovery tool. It's a lightweight program that you can download from the Biamp website. And actually, when you open a brand new box with Devio, you have a QR code that leads to the documentation and to the Biamp discovery download. And I already have it here installed. I can launch it. And it does what the name suggests. It's discovering Biamp units in the network. I just launched it. Let me show you that I can select the network adapter, network interface. In this case, I selected the Ethernet port of my computer. I can click on Discover Devices. In here, it found my Devio SCX 400. I can see the serial number, check the IP address. And this is the address that I could type in a web browser to be able to connect to the web administration. Or I can just click on the web UI link here. And the browser is opening the Devio web page. So username admin, default password is the serial number of the unit. Of course, it's recommended to change it. And here's the dashboard of my Devio SCX. I can already see that system is configured. There's no alarm, nothing strange going on. I can check the model, the serial number, and the firmware. So I have in one place a good look of everything that's happening on my device. But what I really want to show you is here in the audio section. The first thing you can notice is this big launch button. It's the digital version of the launch button, the hardware button that we have on the unit. And it does exactly the same. It starts the Biamp launch procedure. And it's useful, for example, if you have the Devio unit hidden behind the room display or in a location where it's not easy to access. So you can launch the procedure here as well. Let me show you the report card to really see what happened when we started the Biamp launch procedure. And here you can see on the far left of the screen the situation before the Biamp launch process was completed, and then at the center of the screen the results after the Biamp launch. So you see quite a difference in the speaker tuning and the compensation of the room reverb and the noise level parameters that have been applied to the audio system. And this is a good source to check what the Biamp launch did, and it's very consistent. If you replicate the process over and over, you get consistent results, so you can really check that it's doing what it says. And on the right here, you have a list of all the connected devices, useful, especially if you have several connected devices. You have everything in one place. And you can also download the report as a PDF, something that you can use with your customer to show what's being done and how the audio of a specific room has improved with the configuration. So let's go back to the web administration of Devio. Just wanted to show you a couple of things. First of all, the meters, the mic meters are now moving, and in the green, it means that they're picking up my voice as I speak. Everything is working fine. And here at the top, I can change the target level, the sound level that I want to apply to my room. There's a default value, but I can change it to fit the room needs and then run the launch procedure again. And here it says UC vendor. If I know that the system will be used mainly with the Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, or Zoom, I can select one of these. So the system will apply the needed parameters to optimize the performance with one of these systems. If not, I can leave it to generic, and generic parameters will be used. They are good for all these systems. So this really depends on the needs of a specific room. So this is a quick view of how the Devio configuration works. Just a couple of things. This is really not needed, as all the work is done by the Biamp launch, but it's good to see a bit of what's happening behind the scenes. And so the Devio is ready, and it's time to introduce the other star of today's webinar, the Modena Hub. And again, the Modena Hub is just out of the box, no previous configuration. It's with default parameters, just a brand new unit. And we will use the Modena to add its own features to the audio features of the Devio that we just saw. With Modena, we'll be able to add wireless USB and wireless presentation and HDMI connection to the TV. So what is Modena? Well, Modena is Biamp's wireless presentation and collaboration hub. And with Modena, you can really turn any space, so not only a meeting room, but any space in a company into a meeting or presentation space, thanks to its wireless capabilities. And with Modena, you can connect any device to the room AV equipment. We will see how we can connect a camera and the Devio physically to the Modena unit, and then use them in a completely wireless way from your laptop. And it provides easy device-to-device collaboration, as we will see in a moment. And generally, it supports a variety of different use cases and configurations. So it's a very flexible system for your collaboration needs. Speaking of wireless presentation, this is the core feature of Modena. And with this, I am able to present the content of my screen, the screen of my device, whether it's a desktop system, Windows or Mac, or a tablet, or even a smartphone. I am able to present it and send it to the room display without having to connect cables, buttons, dongles, or any type of adapters. Nothing else is needed, just your computer and the display in the room connected to the Modena. It's a way to collaborate safely and hygienically, something that in times of social distancing is a big need. But also at the same time, it's a way to collaborate in a very effective and efficient way. I can send content from any device, but I can also receive the presentation on my personal device as well. So if I'm seated far away or sideways from the display that it's on the wall, I can still see and receive the presentation on my personal device right in front of me. and roles can be switched at any time. So I can be a presenter or a receiver, up to 6 concurrent presenters on the room display. Then speaking of what we call wireless video conference or wireless USB, it's a way to use the room AV equipment without connecting a single cable to my laptop. Cables are connected to the Modena unit. The camera and the audio system are physically connected to the Modena. On my laptop, on my computer, I can receive the stream from the audio and video that are connected to the Modena without anything else. And the good thing is it's agnostic to the UC platform, so I can use it with Teams, Zoom, Meet, WebEx, and so on, and even have different meeting platforms in the same day, in the same session. They are all compatible with Modena. So it's a very powerful and flexible system at the same time. Having a closer look at the Modena hardware, on the back we see 3 main connections. Apart from the antennas and the power connection, we see a network port that we can use to connect the unit to the corporate network, to the enterprise network. Then we have the USB port. It's really the key connection to the audio and video devices that I have installed in the room. This is what we will use to connect the Devio and the camera. And then HDMI port that we will use to connect the room display, TV that we have in our room, as you just saw. So like what we did with the Devio, we can now connect the Modena unit to the rest of the system. I have the Modena unit here with me. I just need to introduce 2 other elements that I haven't so far. And first is the camera. It's a room camera that it's typically mounted somewhere on the wall. And we have it on the cabinet here, so for easier connection. And then as the Modena has a USB port on the back, and we need to connect both the Devio SCX and the camera with the USB, we will need a USB hub, and this is what I have right here. So let's do the actual connections. I can finally connect the Devio USB on the back of the unit to my USB hub. And I will also connect the camera that I have here to the same USB hub. Then I can connect the hub to the Modena unit. So now the USB connection is complete. I can connect the HDMI from the Modena to the screen. And the network cable. With the HDMI connection. And we can power the unit. Okay, now the system is booting. And here's a recap of the connection that we just did. And well, the Devio is just what we saw before. We have our Devio SCX 400 and with the cat cable connection to the network box. Network box is connected with the parlor mics and the Disono speakers. Then the Devio runs a USB cable to the USB hub, and to the same hub we also connected the camera, the room camera that we will use. Then we have a single USB cable from the USB hub to the Modena, And finally, we have an HDMI connection from the Modena to the room display that we will see in a moment. So I am now going to switch the TV to the Modena source. And this is the Modena welcome screen. And this is the screen that you see when the system is idle. It's ready for a session, but not really with a session ongoing. And there are a few useful information here on the screen. First of all, you see here on the top left two IP addresses. One is the wired connection that we just connected on the Modena. But you also see a guest access with another IP address. This is because we are using a Modena Hub Plus that, in addition to the wired network connection, also features another Wi-Fi module that is creating its own SSID. And this is useful, for example, for guests. If you want to have guests access the Modena and access the session, be able to collaborate with the other participants without giving them the full access to the company network, this is the way to do it. And then we have some weather widget, logo, and by the way, you can customize all these the background and all the other elements of the welcome screen completely. This is just the default. And then you see the room name, room 1, the default name, and a passcode. And the passcode is one of the most important security features of Modena. Basically, I am required to enter the passcode when I'm trying to connect to the session. This is to avoid that someone else from another room is trying to enter the session, steal the content of my meeting. I need to be physically here in the room to be able to join the session. So this is it. Modena is ready. We can use it. But again, let me just go briefly to the web administration of Modena just to show you and check a couple of things. And so in this case, I can open my browser. And I can type the IP address that I can see on the welcome screen, welcome page. And this is the homepage of my Modena unit. From the 3 dots at the top right, I can enter the admin. Default password is admin. And here's the Modena web administration pages. From here you can control all the room parameters, the customization of the welcome screen, as I just mentioned. But I really want to go to the USP page and show you that the Modena has already recognized the camera and the Biamp Devio SCX 400, as you can see here, both for the microphone and the speaker. In case you have more devices, more than 1 devices, you will see them in the list here. For example, I can see the microphone. I could also choose the camera embedded mic, something that I don't want to do. But if you have more than 1 devices, you can select, choose them from here. And this is the interesting page because I can also test my devices with this button, test camera, microphone, and speaker. And this is what I'm going to do right now. So let's test the camera. Zoom a bit. Yes. Now I can see the stream from the camera. Let's test the microphone. Test, 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 1, 2, 3, test, test, test. Is recording a few seconds of audio and saving them in a file that I can just check to see that everything is correct. It's downloading the file right now. Open it. Okay, I could hear my voice. And then let's check that the volume, the gain is okay, 90% is fine, and we can test the speaker will produce a sound and check that the speakers are working fine. Okay, so the USB connection for camera, mic, and speaker are fine. Just quickly, I want to show you that on the HDMI page, you can set the resolution for the room display, and that in the status, you can have all these parameters in read-only mode, but all in one look, so you can check the firmware version, the room status, the USB status, all here in one page, so very, very handy. So let me log out from the administration. And last thing that I want to show you, again, from the three dots here, I can access the download app page. And now I'm still on a web page on the Modena Hub. This is really an embedded library, an embedded repository where I can find all the Modena software, the Windows and Mac app, the drivers, and I have links to download the apps for the Android and iOS systems. So, of course, we can download the software from Biamp website, but it's also handy. There's no need to access the internet. We have all the software that we need on board the Modena unit. So let me exit this. And what we saw now is really how easy it is to configure not only the Devio, but also the modem just out of the box. We connected and there was nothing else to do. And then we entered the web administration to check that the USB connection were right and working as expected. This is really what an IT manager or an integrator and installer would like to test. But let's go to the user experience for a moment and see what's the experience of a participant in a meeting, participant in a collaboration environment. And we saw that we can download and install the Modena app from the Modena unit itself. I already have the Modena app and running here. It's the 9 white dots here. And when I click on the 9 dots, I'm given a list of all the available rooms, all the available Modena resources that we have in our company here, and we have several. I know that we are using room 1 now, and I can also see that there's a USB camera and audio plugged in and a TV connected on the HDMI. So when I click on the room, first thing I need to enter is the passcode that we can see on the welcome screen. So 0149. And you can see now the 9 dots have turned light blue. It means that I am in a session. There's an active session, and the welcome screen is reflecting the fact that we have one participant connected. And also the interface of the app changed. I don't have the room list anymore, but I have a play button, a presentation button. If I press this button, I'm starting sending the content of my screen to the Modena. Let's make it something more interesting. And you see the 9 dots have now turned red, and it means that we are connected and presenting to the Modena system. So this is great. I can send my presentation just like that, and participants in the meeting now could receive the same presentation on their devices too for the best experience. So this is great for local collaboration between us. What if we want to extend the collaboration in a video conference? This is what we will see now. Let me close this and open Zoom. If I enter the Zoom settings and I go into the video, now I'm seeing myself from the laptop camera, and I can select the Modena virtual video device. And now I'm using the camera that is connected to the Modena again. Same thing for the audio. I can change and select the Modena speakers and the Modena microphone. So now I'm really connected to the room equipment without having to connect a wired cable. Everything is happening through the Modena. And let's join a session with my colleague Ian to test the system.
Hey, Julio.
Hi, Ian. Can you see me and hear me?
Yeah, good. Thank you. I can hear you well, see you well. Everything is perfect.
Great.
Good setup.
Great. Thank you very much for your help.
Great presentation. See you later. Bye.
See you later. Bye-bye. So I can now close the session here, and quick recap of what we saw. We started really from the design of the room, and then placed the Devio SCX and then the Modena Hub, without really having to enter any type of programming or complex configuration of the two systems. The Devio can be configured with the Biamp launch button, just one press of the button, then connecting the Modena is really easy. And apart from my explanation, everything really happened in just a few minutes, just very easy and time saving when installing a system with these two units. So great experience. And from zero configuration, we reached the point of being able to use the Devio and the Modena for wireless video conference, a conference in which I can just enter the meeting room with my laptop. Nothing else needs to be connected, no cables, zero dongles, and I could just use the room equipment like that. So great experience. And let me show you one last thing in this presentation, which is what we call hybrid meeting room. It's basically, as you can see here, we still have the Devio and we still have the Modena. But in this case, we also want to be able to use a room system or a room computer that we have in the meeting room. So we need a switch, an HDMI and USB switch at the center of this design. We're connecting the Devio and the camera by USB to the switch, and also the room display with the HDMI connection, all three connected to the switch to the center of this design. And then we have the Modena Hub and the room system connecting to the switch. And by operating the switch, you can change from the Modena to the room system and vice versa on the fly. And this is kind of combining the best of both worlds, the wireless experience and the wired experience with the room system, the room computer. It's what we call hybrid meeting room because it allows us to use both systems at the same time. So very interesting setup as well. So we are towards the end of the presentation. These are what I think are useful resources of things that we discussed briefly today, the conference room designer, the Devio SCX and the Modena Hub. And these are recorded webinars that can be very helpful in understanding a bit more, something a bit more in depth of these systems. So I encourage you to watch them if you want to know a little bit more. And then, of course, we have the Biamp.com website and the Cornerstone section, the support.biamp.com. These are both great resources for information, both commercial and technical information. So you will find a lot of data sheet, technical articles, how to deploy, install, and configure the Devio and the Modena and all the other Biamp products for the best performances and best results. So again, a great source for information. And this is the end of my presentation. So I hope it was interesting and you could see the greatness of Devio and Modena, and especially when they are combined to work with one another. So, combining the features of these two great products. we can now open, we have time for questions, so I don't know, Ian, if we have already some questions in the chat. Otherwise, please feel free to send them now.
Yeah, thanks, Giulio. We've got one question only at the moment, so if anybody else has any questions, we've got Tomislav on the line. I can't believe he doesn't have any questions. So one question from Alan. Do both the Devio and Modena require network connectivity? So I wondered if you could overview that, please.
Well, they don't. Modena can be used as a completely standalone product. It's basically you can connect through the onboard Wi-Fi, so keeping the Modena completely separated from the rest. There's no need for an internet connection, and you could also connect the Modena to the rest of the company network without internet access if you want. So it depends on what you want to achieve, and especially with the Modena Hub Plus, where you have the wired and the wireless network, you can combine and decide the level of bridging you want to use between the two devices. And the Devio too, of course. Devio can, apart from the configuration that we saw, can work as a standalone system. And when you connect it, for example, the Modena, but also to a computer, you're really connecting a USB cable, and you can use the room equipment like that. So, yes, it's a very flexible setup that can adapt to a lot of different network possibilities.
Yeah, and I think in the case of the Devio, just to recap from that side, it does not require a network connection at all, actually. The only time you would need it is if you need to do any adjustments or configuration from your PC. But normally now with the product, with the launch, you don't need any network connectivity. The other time, of course, there is a network connection which comes from the microphones and speakers interface in this case. So again, they could be standalone and not part of your infrastructure, but they do use a network connection between them. So I think the short answer is it really depends on your application. With Modena, it needs the network connection so that you can discover the device from any other source device, your laptop or your smartphone, for example, on the network in the building. So, but again, it depends on what the requirements are.
Yes, and if there's a specific need for a specific project, feel free to send us an email and we can discuss that need specifically.
Great, and then not so much a question, but a nice comment from Christos in Cyprus. Hope you're doing well, Christos. He's thanking us for the really interesting meeting and so on. And he's making the comment here, it would be nice to have one central product that can offer all together. Now, I've been asked for this before as a passing comment, but I think the key for Modena and Tessera and Nexia, I beg your pardon, Devio, is that they are modular. So you could use a Modena with a Devio in this case, you could use it with a Tessera, and by keeping it modular, you really do open up the different possibilities for many different rooms and applications. So I think whilst on the surface it has an appeal, it also means that if you don't need that function, you're going to be paying for it, even if you don't use it. So it's an interesting concept. Alan has also come back with a supplementary question. Can you connect 4 TCM XA to the SCX 400 and therefore connect up to 8 Parley mics to the unit?
Yes, you can connect with the SCX 800, you can connect up to 8 mics. Correct.
Yes, so with the SCX 400, it's not possible. So because there's only 4 channels of AEC, so with the SCX 800, you can indeed go for the 8 microphone solution, which is a nice one.
Bigger brother, the SCX 800, yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's all the questions from here. So thank you very much, Julia, for your great work again on this presentation. So I'll leave it up to you to finish up. Thank you.
Yeah, So, well, thank you everybody for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this webinar. And thank you, Ian, for your help. Thank you, Mauro, here for his help, and hope to see you at the next Biamp webinar. Thank you. Bye-bye.